his clean vocals that only Chester could really do. Like, even when he was doing Given Up, which has Chester's longest continuous scream, Ivo matched not only the same tone of the scream, but also the same duration. He's an extraordinarily talented vocalist who sounds about as close to Chester as my two nuts are to the shaft of my cock. Like, it is close. And he also kind of looks like Chester. And I definitely don't think he should have been the replacement for Chester in Linkin Park. I, under no circumstances, think that would have been the right decision. I saw a lot of people flood Hybrid Theory's comment section saying, how dare they choose Emily over Ivo? This makes no sense. Look at how close he sounds to Chester. He even looks like Chester's doppelganger. It looks like they were separated at birth.
Yeah.
They're clones. I just don't think it would be a good idea. Just picture this. You lose your best friend in the world, and then a little while later, you find someone that looks and sounds just like them. I don't think you'd be like, oh, my new best friend. Perfect. I needed someone to come in here and fill these shoes. Like, it'd be extremely weird for the band, I would think, and it'd be extremely weird for fans, I would think. It certainly would be for me if I heard Linkin Park have a vocalist that sounds exactly like Chester. I think it'd almost be disrespectful in my eyes. So I do think them going for a different sounding vocalist for a different direction was the right call. I'm just not convinced Emily Armstrong was the right choice to fulfill that role. You know, I think you could have got a better quarterback. I feel like if the band knew all of the Scientology stuff, they probably wouldn't be super thrilled about that either, especially given everything that they've gone through. I'm not going to be, putting thoughts in their head, putting poop in their butt or anything. I don't know them personally. I'm sounding very parasocial here. But from everything I've ever learned about them, it feels like a lot of what I've learned about Emily Armstrong would be very much not something they'd be super happy about. And I don't think that she's the best possible vocalist they could have gotten or anything either. But anyway, what I do think is that Ivo Rosario and the Hybrid Theory tribute band is a really, really fucking fun group that is touring. And it's a group I really want to see. I never got to see Linkin Park live, and it's something that I really regret. A huge missed opportunity. I was really considering going to Revolution when it came to the swamp down here, but I got really nervous and cold feet about being around a lot of other people, so I ended up just pussying out and not going, and I never got to see them perform live.
Yeah.
But seeing Hybrid Theory perform live will probably be about as close as I can ever get to experiencing a fraction of what an OG Linkin Park concert must have been like. And I think that's super cool. I am really happy that Hybrid Theory is such a talented group that does all of these tracks justice. And hopefully they'll come around the area at some point so I can go to one of those concerts. But I do not think Ivo Rosario would have been the right call to replace Chester Bennington in Linkin Park. I think it just would have been a little weird for the legacy of Linkin Park and Chester. Anyway, though, that's really about it. So, yeah.
That's it? That was short. When did this come out?
You asked for it. Here it is. I'm returning to the best game ever made. Since my original glitch video in this game 5 years ago, a ton of new discoveries have been made, and a glitch playthrough today is completely different to what it was back then.
Yeah, I bet.
As usual, everything we're about to see in this video can be done on any version of the game, and on any console that can run it. To keep me from rushing through too quickly with glitches, I'm also setting the restriction that I have to not only beat Gehrman, but also the Orphan of Kos in this playthrough before I'm allowed to finish the game.
Yeah.
With that out of the way, welcome to the workshop. We're breaking Bloodborne. This video is sponsored by Rokid and their Augmented Reality Joy Pack. Right, so what in the world is a Rokid? Well, I asked them and they told me that their name comes from combining the words robot and kid, in the same way that Metroid originated from combining the words Metro and Android, or the way that GameStop originated from combining the words game and stop giving us examples, we get it already. Rokid makes AR glasses, not VR glasses, and that distinction is important. For one, they're way less expensive than a VR headset, And because it's a completely different technology, they don't
Okay, obviously we don't care.
You found yourself a hunter.
When we first begin the game, we wake up in Yasefka's clinic with no weapons or items and are meant to fight our way through Central Yarnum until reaching Father Gascoigne at the end, the required boss preventing progress to the next area. Surprise, surprise, we won't be doing that. Instead, we run straight ahead, past the lycanthrope, and to the courtyard just outside the clinic. Here's a locked gate that leads to Forbidden Woods, and is meant to be opened from the opposite side after beating Vicar Amelia to connect the woods to Central Yarnum. We, however, are going to skip both Gascoigne and Amelia and go to the woods right now. This skip requires no items, but the spacing can be tricky, and it requires getting good RNG to execute successfully, so don't expect to get it on your first try. First, lure the wolf out from the clinic and toward the open gate that leads to Central Yarnum. Now stand on the outer edge of the circular shape that the bricks make in the floor, and bait the wolf's grab attack. Just before it grabs you, roll forward and stand as close to the Forbidden Woods gate as possible. This will give you the perfect spacing for the glitch, assuming that the wolf chooses to immediately go for a second grab attack. If and when that happens, allow yourself to be grabbed, then begin mashing L1 and R1 to break out. The grab animation pushes you forward slightly and does not check for collision, so if your spacing was correct and you mash the shoulder buttons to break out fast enough, you will find yourself on the opposite side of the gate in a glitch that has defined nearly every Bloodborne speedrun since it was discovered. Now that you're on the other side of the gate, you can pull the lever to the right to open it permanently and have access to Forbidden Woods as the first area of the game. Before going there, first take the ladder up to the roof of Yasefka's clinic to grab the Canehurst summons, an item we will need later for the particular build I have in mind for this playthrough. If you go deeper into the clinic, you can find the Yasefka impersonator that is supposed to appear much later in the game standing on a stretcher in the back room. Because we were never meant to reach this room this early, she has no program behavior and no health bar. You can't talk to her, can't kill her, and if you push her far enough away from her spawn location, she will walk right back on her own. There's no glitch we can do with this, but get used to this sort of bizarre behavior from NPCs. The more we break this game's linearity, the more of this type of stuff we're going to see. What's more, the quote-unquote real Yasefka that stands behind the locked door at the entrance is there now, but doesn't have any collision because, once again, we were never meant to reach this area this early. This means you can pass straight through her and open the door to the clinic, which ironically does not prevent you from talking to her.
I'm very sorry, but I cannot open this door.
Okay, good. We've only done one glitch so far, and the game is already falling apart. From here, we can take the ladder down to Forbidden Woods and cross the lake of poison water to enter the woods from the back. You should also know that doing this will break Eileen the Crow's questline for this playthrough, permanently locking you out of collecting the Air Rune from killing Heinrich and the Hunter Rune from killing the Bloody Crow of Canehurst. We'll get more into the consequences of this a bit later, but just know that the moment we enter Forbidden Woods this way, Eileen's quest is immediately flagged as failed. While we could continue forward and deeper into the woods, I instead turn right to go to the normal Forbidden Woods lamp. This may feel like backtracking, but it's actually the fastest way to unlock the elevator shortcut and reach the boss at the end. Once you've lit the lamp, proceed forward as normal, but hang right past the big, hairy, whatever that is, and then drop down to the area with the scurrying beast and carrion crows. This is meant to be a dead end, but due to some weird geometry in the wall, this becomes our way forward. Jump at this location toward the wall, and you will clip up on top, then roll forward and continue across the top of the wall to the village just before the windmill that holds the elevator shortcut. Be sure to drop directly onto the ground and not onto one of the rooftops, or you may get stuck behind invisible walls and have to warp back to the lamp and start over. From here, you can immediately turn right and run towards the cannon to enter the windmill and claim the elevator shortcut leading back to the lamp. In the room at the top of the elevator is Walter, the NPC that introduces the player to the League Covenant and gives them the Impurity Rune. Smack him around like he owes you money, and he will become aggressive. Lead him over to the elevator and quickly take it down. Walter will follow you off the ledge and die to fall damage, dropping 7,000 echoes, which is 4 times as much as we would have gotten from killing Gascoigne. But we're still not done. Walter has a bodyguard that hides in the trees near the lamp, who will also become aggressive if Walter gets attacked. We can perform the same tactic to take out this hunter as well, who drops 4,000 echoes of his own, as well as the Madara's whistle, a weapon that no one has ever used in the history of Bloodborne. The whistle requires 18 blood tinge, so use the lamp to enter the hunter's dream for the first time, and let's spin these echoes. Since we got a point of insight from visiting the upstairs of Yasefka's clinic, the doll is already awake when we arrive, and the messengers will offer us a starting weapon and gun. From here we could choose the saw cleaver, threaded cane, hunter axe, blunderbuss, hunter pistol, but this is a glitch playthrough. What kind of casual would I be if I took any of those? Listen, these weapons are cringe. Leave them on the ground where they belong and use these blood echoes to pump blood tinge. With our newly acquired whistle in tow, we return to the woods, take the elevator back down, and follow the path all the way down to the end of the area where we encounter the Shadows of Yharnam. When we enter the arena and try to fight them now, it goes like you would expect, but that's fine because we didn't need to actually beat them, we just need to trigger them to spawn. Now when you return to the arena, the Shadows will already be inside waiting for you, and there will be a new fog gate at the entrance. This is what we need to trigger the next glitch. First, go to the left wall, and then slowly creep forward until you see the prompt to enter the fog appear on the screen. Now flick the analog stick left to turn without moving your character's feet. You want to be facing as perpendicular to the fog as possible, while maintaining the prompt on screen to enter the fog. When you got it, press X, and your character will begin the animation of entering the boss room, but we are so far away from the fog itself that the animation doesn't push us as far forward as the game is expecting. Just like that, we have entered the arena without the Shadows realizing that the fog has been crossed, meaning their AI never activates, and they are permanently stuck in an idle animation no matter how much damage they take. If you've seen my videos before, these sorts of freeze glitches are old news to you. With the Shadows frozen, we can slap them into a group, then use the Madara's Whistle to deal an insane amount of damage for our level, finishing the boss off in just a few uses. The whistle is legitimately a great damage dealing item, but it's so slow that it only really works for bosses that don't move. Something to keep in mind as this playthrough continues. We get 18,000 echoes from beating the Shadows, which goes, you guessed it, straight into Blood Tinge. So now if you look at our build breakdown, you can see that we have 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain. We could go deeper into Bergenworth and fight Rom at this point, but there's a few things I want to do before progressing the time that far. Oh, right. I guess now is a great time to go into how the night cycle in Bloodborne works. There are 4 different times of day in this game, and each one progresses forward on the death of a major storyline boss. When you start the game, it's midday. When you kill Gascoigne, it becomes evening. When you kill Amelia, it becomes midnight. And when you kill Rom, it becomes the blood moon. You can go forward whenever you like by killing that respective boss, but once a boss is dead, there's no going back. We would miss out on some stuff by skipping straight from midday to the blood moon, so I want us to intentionally go out of our way to kill Gascoigne and progress to evening at this point. Even though progressing from midday to evening is the intended order of the game, rest assured, we definitely won't be doing it the intended way. To start off, we go through Central Yharnam as usual to make it to the Tomb of Odin and step inside. Just like with the Shadows, we don't actually intend to beat Gascoigne now, but the next glitch requires triggering the cutscene so that his model is loaded behind the fog gate for the next attempt. With that taken care of, here's how to set up the next glitch. First, return to the fog gate and then move to the left corner, spinning the camera in the opposite direction. Now sprint forward and jump at the top of the stairs to land on the 3rd spire from the top of the handrail on the left side of the fence. Your character will roll off upon landing and end up on the 4th spire instead. This is too low to execute the glitch, so what you must do instead is quit out after touching the 3rd spire and before landing on the 4th, so that the game thinks the last place you touch solid ground is still the 3rd. This has to be done extremely fast, and because the menus themselves take time to open and close, you should press options and begin quitting out the moment you press circle to jump from the stairs. Do it fast enough, and when you load back into the game, you will be standing on the 3rd spire instead of the 4th. That's the hardest part of the glitch done, but we aren't finished yet. Next, roll to the right and have the small ledge on the wall push you up vertically and give you enough height to step over the 2nd spire on the railing. Now run against the 1st spire at the top and jump left, completely crossing the stairs and landing on the railing along the left wall, a place the player was obviously never intended to stand. From here, we roll toward the gargoyle statue to make it past the corner, and then continue to walk along the top of the railing like a tightrope deeper into the wall, and pass through the low-resolution textures that have no collision. Take it slow here. The floor below the railing does not have a hitbox, so if you fall off, you'll end up in a white void and have to restart. Follow the railing around the corner to the right through the low-resolution textures until you make it out the other side. Now, simply walk forward along the remainder of the railing, and you will find yourself within Father Gascoigne's boss room without ever passing through the fog, meaning that just like the Shadows, Gascoigne's AI will never activate. This makes him the perfect target for the Madara's Whistle, and in 4 uses, Gascoigne will fall, progressing the game's time to evening, and granting us access to Cathedral Ward. Next, we need access to the Chalice dungeons, and that means getting a Chalice. The easiest one to access is the Thumeru Chalice granted after defeating the Bloodstarved Beast, which means we're headed to Old Yharnam. Take a left out of Odin Chapel and follow the path straight ahead all the way down until reaching the barred doors, with the note warning us not to enter. Joke's on them, I can't read. As soon as we step outside, we will be utterly accosted by a crazy man yelling from the rooftops. Huh, kind of reminds me of when I lived in Memphis. Rather than continuing left like we're intended to, go to the right instead and drop all the way down to this platform, then walk up to the railing, aligning yourself to be just left of this decorative pillar of the roof one tier below. Now back up as far as you can, start running, and jump over the railing to bounce off of the lower roof and land on the end of this stone barrier. This, once again, is a place we were never meant to stand. It's safe to run on the open air just ahead, but you'll have to jump at this point or you'll fall straight through the roof. Next, roll into the tent-shaped roof on your left, which also has no collision, and finally drop straight down onto the street below. You should recognize where you are at this point, and if you like, take the spiral stairs back up the building you just dropped down from in order to properly open the shortcut door so that you have easy, consistent access to the end of Old Yarnum without ever completing the area. From here, it's easy to reach the Bloodstar Beast, and at this point, you might be wondering how I plan to freeze this boss as well. Yeah, about that. There is no known freeze for the Bloodstar Beast at this point in time, and with how insanely fast and frantic this thing moves, the idea of killing it with the slow Madara's whistle is completely out of the question. But thankfully for us, the Bloodstar Beast's ridiculous speed is exactly how we're going to defeat it. Lure him to the back of the arena, behind the altar, and stand on this specific tile. Then when the BSB approaches, if he chooses to do the long-range claw slash, roll to the left to dodge the attack. Assuming the spacing was correct and the right attack was chosen by his RNG, the Bloodstar Beast will rush forward, get caught between the unbroken pots in the back of the room before clipping straight through the wall and falling out of bounds. After a minute or two of falling through the void, he will hit the kill plane and you'll get credit for defeating him, despite dealing no damage at all. This is not the only place in this arena that the Bloodstar Beast can suddenly launch himself through a wall. There are videos of it on YouTube happening all sorts of places, but standing on this one specific tile and having unbroken pots in the back of the room is a strategy that I find to be the most repeatable and consistent. Now that we have our Thumeru Chalice, warp back to the Hunter's Dream, and let's get to work finishing our build. First thing to note here is that the next glitch will only work if you're playing online, meaning that it requires a subscription to PlayStation Plus. This should be no surprise to you, as what I'm about to show is probably the most well-known exploit in all of Bloodborne today. When you load into the Hunter's Dream, go left to one of the Chalice altars and choose to search by Chalice glyph. In the pop-up window, enter CUMMMFPK. This will open a chalice with a glitch name and with glitch dungeon rights. That's because this is a hacked dungeon known as a false depth chalice. When we load in, you'll notice that our HP bar is only a speck, and that's because the creator has stacked so many cursed attributes on top of one another that we lose 99% of our maximum HP when we enter this dungeon. But the amount of blood echoes we get for defeating enemies will be massively boosted as well. Take a few steps in and look to the left, where an HP bar will appear within the wall and begin to deplete on its own. Now simply wait, and you will suddenly receive over 83,000 blood echoes in one drop. Okay, so what exactly is going on here? Well, like I said, this is a hacked dungeon using a modded version of Bloodborne running on a PlayStation with custom firmware. This dungeon was handmade to grant the greatest number of echoes as possible in the shortest amount of time, using nothing but intended Chalice dungeon mechanics arranged in an ideal way. The creator placed an enemy hunter spawn point on top of one of the swinging axe traps, something that should never happen in a normal Chalice dungeon. Each time the axe swings, it takes a chunk out of his health bar, and because of the increased HP reduction this dungeon was set to have, the blood echoes he drops are massively boosted as well. You could manually run into this room and kill the hunter yourself each time to get the same result, but I wouldn't recommend it. Every time you re-enter the dungeon, the hunter respawns and the axe trap kills him once again, meaning you can get 83,000 blood echoes this way every 60 seconds. And even better, you only need PS Plus to search for the dungeon originally. After it's in your game, you can let your subscription expire and continue to access the dungeon for echoes whenever you want. This gives us more than enough resources to completely max out our blood tinge, meaning the damage of this little whistle is about to go through the roof. Why don't we test that out? The next glitch I have in mind requires the Rune Workshop tool, which is the reward for beating the Witch of Hemwick.
Alright, I'm going to do that. That's crazy.
And with glitch dungeon.
CUMMMFPK. Well, I'm switching the stream to